Welcome to MasterMind Minutes, the leading podcast for franchisors, franchisees, and entrepreneurs of all types. We have one guest, we ask one question, and we get one expert answer, and we do it in minutes, not hours. Hello again, and welcome to another edition of MasterMind Minutes. My name is Gary Occhiogrosso. I'm the founder and managing partner of Franchise Growth Solutions, one of the leading franchise advisory, development, and sales organizations here in the great United States of America. And here today is MasterMind Minutes. And for those of you who are just joining us, perhaps for the first time, as I always say, the concept's pretty simple. We have one guest, we have one topic, and we get one answer, or we discuss that topic to some extent, not in any great detail, because we do this in minutes, not hours. And while we realize that you may want more information, we will give you the contact information for our guest at the end of the program. And today, my guest is Mike DeJong, who, in addition to being a franchisee of Nothing Bundt Cakes, and we'll talk about that perhaps a little later on, he works with business owners who feel stuck in the day-to-day, working nonstop, problem solving, every little thing, putting out fires. For those of you who run a small business and are really unable to step away without everything falling apart, Mike is the guy that you should be speaking with, because as you know, most folks, we start a small business because we're in search of freedom, and instead, the entire business depends entirely on us. So Mike helps people escape from what he calls operator trap. I love that. By building systems, leadership, and teams that allow the business to run without them. And as a student of Michael Gerber and the E-Myth Revisited, I will tell you it does come down to systems and training people. Mike is also the author of Grow Smart, where he teaches entrepreneurs how to move from operator to owner and build businesses that create both performance and real freedom. And he's done this in the real world. He's a multi-unit operator for Nothing Bundt Cakes. I think before the program he mentioned he owns one and he's building two more. So this concept of building a team and not having the day-to-day operations depend on your work showing up, being on the schedule, so to speak, is something he's very well versed in. And Mike, I am very, very eager to delve into this topic with you. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Pleasure and honor to be here, Gary.
So before we get into the question or questions, I know people call me out because I say one question and then it's usually five.
It's one theme.
But I don't really care. Before we get into that, just tell us a little bit more about you, about your work as a franchisee, your work, like what you're doing now, the book. Tell us a little bit more about you.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. So I had 4 other Nothing Bundt Cakes locations that I built out. I was the first one in the state of Wisconsin. That started about 10 years ago, and I recently sold those. The other location I have is in Washington State. So, I learned to operate them in multiple states, in multiple ways, and with multiple people. And the last few years, I even owned the ones in Wisconsin. I was doing those from Virginia and Texas and Florida as I was kind of traveling around the country as a digital nomad. So, but it didn't start that way, Gary. That first one, man, I was the operator. I was the 80, 100, you name it, hours per week. You run out of hours, only 168 in a week.
Yeah.
And one day I just had this wake up call where I can't do this. I'm gonna burn out or die or kill someone or something. So I kind of went back to my engineering background, my aviation background, and started to put procedures, checklists, that sort of thing in place. All the things I resisted when I left corporate America, because I just didn't want to do that stuff anymore. But it turns out you need that stuff.
Well, yeah, for sure. And I hear you. And, in the beginning, I think before the program we were talking, and for those who listen to the program know I'm a former Dunkin' owner. When I first opened my Dunkin' Donut shop, and I was a kid, and what do you know when you're 26? Not a hell of a lot, but you think you know everything. In the beginning, I would go to work on Monday and come home on Thursday. But the trap, so to speak, is the difference between doing that in the beginning to learn everything so that you can manage a manager versus doing that forever and that thinking that that's my business, that's the business. So that kind of leads us into the topic here. And by the way, I didn't realize your operations were in different states, which presents a whole nother layer
Yeah.
of intrigue, if you will, in terms of running it. But I think let's start out with your definition of the difference between owning a business and just working in one. I say, doing the work of the business versus running the business. What's your definition of that in terms of what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, a lot of people, well, they might own the business. The business has your name on it or your whatever company name you gave it on it. Um, if you're working in the business instead of on the business, if you're in the business, you're operating it, even if you might technically own it. When you're thinking strategically, when you are not the one that makes all the decisions, when you're the one that could take days, weeks, months off at a time without someone needing to call you for every decision, then you're the business owner.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I myself, as an entrepreneur since 26 years old, although I did have jobs in between, but my jobs, my role at Ranch One, I launched the franchise business. My role at True Foods, we had 105 units, so it was entrepreneurial, but I was employed. But when I launched this business, and I think over the course of sort of my career, being an entrepreneur also many entrepreneurs, I'm not going to say everyone, I'm not even going to say most, but many entrepreneurs are control freaks. Okay.
Yes.
I know for myself, I've become less of a control freak just because I've had to in order to grow. So there's this emotional thing that I made the baby, so I have to raise the baby, and I'm the only one who could feed the baby and take care of the baby, and it's a very difficult bridge to cross. It's a very difficult bridge to cross to say, okay, I'm going to build a team now, and I'm going to sort of let go
Yes.
and manage this. So like when you're working with people, like what are some of the tips, tricks, advice that you would give to an entrepreneur in psychologically to get them to sort of let go? Because if they don't let go, they're not going to execute on the plan of building a team. First, they have to let go emotionally. Where do you get to that?
Yeah, I have to start with, usually have to start with, we're all humans, we're all a little different. Um, with getting them to understand that they're not letting go, that they do have their fingers and everything. And I usually start that with like, can you take a long weekend vacation? Just something simple. They're like, absolutely, do it all the time. Like, can you do it with leaving your phone and your laptop at home? And they're usually you could see this pain
That,
on their face,
yeah,
this
that's a
fear in
tough
their
question.
eyes.
That's a tough question. Uh,
And I'm like, if they most will realize it's like, well, I gotta have it just in case, or what if something happens, or if I can't get them to realize it, then I'm like, well, try it, just try it. And it's kind of a wake up call on how involved they still are in the business. So they kind of need that kickstart to really realize that they are still very much an operator, and that's just a very quick and easy way to kind of open their eyes to it. And then from there, it's building out just the mental map. It's like, okay, I'm sure you've heard this, Gary. No one can do this better than I can.
oh,
I'm the best at whatever, fill in the blank.
I'm guilty as charged. I mean, I don't say it as much anymore, but yeah, that was my mantra. That was
Yeah,
me.
mine
It was
too.
all about me.
Yeah, it'll take longer to train someone. I'm just gonna go. I mean, Peter Gerber and the E-Myth. You're just used to getting stuff done, used to jumping in there, used to just finishing it without a pro. Like it takes longer to train someone, and I'm better at it, and they're gonna screw it up.
Yeah.
And I'll ask people to think of a time like, all right, have you been perfect since you started this business? You've never made a mistake that cost hundreds or thousands of dollars or pissed off a customer. And they're like, well, yeah, okay, maybe once or twice, because that's their kind of main crux for why they can't let someone else do it. It's
Yeah.
because they're going to screw it up and it's going to cost me money.
Yep.
It
Yep.
just seems to hurt more when someone else costs them money and you seem to forget about it when you cost yourself
With
money.
without a doubt, and for years and years, I'm less of that now. Again, I mean, I'm sort of bearing my soul here. I'm less of that now, and I will say, I don't know if it's because I got smarter or because I got beat up a lot. I call it bloody noses because
Yeah.
I got a lot of bloody noses, and now, and I think I mentioned before the program, most of the folks I work with are actually outsourced consultants, but they're kind of like, I mean, the relationship is very much, I don't want to say employer employee because I'm not big on that whole thing. It's definitely a team. It doesn't matter what the legal situations are,
Mhm.
right? So, now I find myself doing a couple of things. First of all, removing obstacles and getting
Yes.
the hell out of the way and
Yes.
being there for questions that's going to help them do a better job. So that took
Yeah.
a while to kind of learn. And then to your question, which I love, have you ever like lost a client or whatever? Dude, I got a list a mile long of screw ups. Okay. So
Me
now I
too.
tell team members, whether they're employees or consultants, look, you can't break it. You can't break it any more than I've broken it at times. Okay. So don't worry about it. Do your thing, fail your way to success. We'll do an autopsy, we'll figure it out, and we'll move on.
Perfect.
That is a very, very difficult place to get to as an entrepreneur. You
It
know it.
really,
I'm sure
oh,
you lived through it when you went from number one unit to number two unit. By the way, that's the only time in your career or in that particular business where you doubled in size in one move.
that's right.
What was the mindset that you had to, maybe you had it already, but what was the bridge?
So initially, I made the jump because, well, my top line was great, my bottom line was terrible. And I'm like, I'm doing all this work and I have no money, so I know I'll grow and I'll make more money, and then I'll have all these extra people, so I could slot them between the two stores. So if someone calls out, I could just move people over. And I sold myself in all these ideas and how it was going to be easier and simpler and more profitable. And I still didn't have systems or processes in place, Gary, not good ones.
Yeah.
And I ended up making less money, working even more hours, which I didn't even think was possible because I was already really not sleeping.
Oh,
It's only 168 hours in a week. Like you can't work them all. And the culture didn't transfer because I wasn't in it every day in the new location like I was at the beginning of the first location teaching it. I just moved a couple people over that I thought would just bring it with them, and they didn't. So
yeah. So here's an area I would love to get your thoughts on because when I first started learning about sort of delegating and building a team, delegation is probably too minor a word. It's more than delegating. It's about
empowering.
building. It's
Yeah.
about building a team and empowering them to sort of carry the mission.
Yeah.
You know, when I first started doing that, I thought, okay, if I'm going to do this and be happy, I'm going to need to lower my expectations of what the deliverable is going to be. Otherwise, because nobody could do it as good as me. Okay,
Oh
so
God.
so I took sort of a, don't raise the bridge, lower the river, so to speak, and I thought that would be the answer. Okay, so if I don't expect so much, then I'll be happy, and then I could just come in and kind of clean it up, right? It didn't work out that way because what I learned, and one of the things I preach and teach to people now is people will deliver to you exactly what you accept. So if you accept
Yes.
mediocrity or you accept inferiority, that's exactly what you're going to get.
100%.
So the idea is not to lower the standards. The idea is to raise the team up with good leadership. So talk to me about that because again, that too is a technique that a lot of folks struggle with.
Yeah, myself included, Gary. I made that same mistake. And then they usually hit even a lower standard than that because you'd hit, or I'd hit, I shouldn't speak for you. In general, we really look at this thing A, we don't look at thing B so much. We keep walking by. I call it walking by a low standard. And I always keep mentors and coaches. People that help me in my life, and one of them's a recently retired U.S. Navy SEAL guy. He was with the teams for I think it was 13 years, and he's like, one of the things we preach is never walk by a low standard, like in any way, shape, or form, and just build that culture and leadership where it's not like a gotcha moment. It's not a you suck or whatever moment. It's just an understanding that we're all trying to raise the bar constantly. And that's a hard, I'm not saying it's easy, that's a hard thing to put in place because as humans, I think many humans or a few humans are C players, most are B players, then you got your few A players, right? Your C players are going to quit if you start doing that. Your B players will do understand that they got to raise the bar. Most will stick with you, some will leave, and your A players are going to be excited. They're
Yeah.
the ones that are going to be like,
Oh,
this is what I'm looking for, and they're going to go after it. And
yeah.
if you don't do that, you're always going to have B or heaven forbid C players, and your life is going to be miserable.
I cannot believe you're saying that because a couple years ago, I spoke to a group of franchisees down in Austin, Texas, and it was about team building. And I expressed it sort of, in the opposite direction by saying, if you don't elevate your B players and your if you don't elevate them, if you just accept it, not only are they eventually going to leave, but you're going to lose your A players because
Correct.
A players don't want to play on a team of B players.
Correct.
I am a long-suffering New York Mets baseball fan. And every time we lose a star player, this year we lost Pete Alonso. Why? We lost him because the guy wasn't motivated to stay on the team. Because the team is a B team. I'm a fan. The team's probably really a C team, okay? But A
We'll let it slide.
players, listen, Eagles don't want to hang out with turkeys, okay?
That's
Say it
so
any way
true.
you want. So if you don't elevate your team, you're going to lose the bad ones and you're going to lose the good ones. And worse yet, you might keep the bad ones. They might stay.
Oh, and that's I've had that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
It's just easier. It's like, I don't want to rebuild this. That's a lot of work. I'm burned out. I'm just going to put up with whatever's there. And then it very quickly gets worse and you have more problems and you end up doing more work rather than just meeting it head on and taking care of it. Like you
Absolutely.
said.
So what do you believe then is the biggest leadership shift, whether it's physically or mentally, that someone has to make in order to stop being the bottleneck? Stop, like I'm the problem. Like, what do I have to
Yeah.
shift in my head to say, wait a minute, get out of the way and let these people do? Steve Jobs, I think, once said, we hire people smarter than us, and then we get out of the way and let them, and then we learn from them. I forget the exact quote, but it was a
I know
brilliant
yeah,
quote. It was like, we hire smart people, and then we don't tell them what to do. They tell us what to do.
right.
Well,
Right.
how do you get there?
Well, it starts with knowing you have to let go, and people don't want to let go. I get it. So let's not start with something big. Start with something small, something that's not going to cost you any money at all or very little if it gets broken. And let's let go of that. And let's build a process or procedure around it. And let's just do that by using Loom or Descript or your cell phone or recording yourself doing it, whatever it is. And just talk through it. I'm going to this website and I'm going to this part and I'm clicking here. And if I got 20 widgets, I'm going to order 30, but if I have 10, I'm going to order 50. Like whatever the process is. Don't
Yeah.
look at it because we all think we all like and oh that's terrible. I sound terrible and I look terrible and my makeup's wrong and what's wrong with my hair? Just hand it to someone and see can they do that. And if they can,
Absolutely.
great, you got your first system.
Yeah. Yeah,
Upload
no,
that video to a private YouTube channel or Google Drive or something. If you need to have it written, put it through your favorite AI tool and just start building from there. But then the next piece of that and why the small stuff? Because you need that dopamine win. If you're like, I'm going to change all of the systems, first of all, you don't know where to go, so your brain's in overwhelm. And secondly, you don't have any wins. So if you get that small win and that small little piece, it's easier to build from that.
yeah.
But the
Oh,
second piece is when people call you or email you or text you or pull you aside if you're still in the building, you got to point them to the system. You got to like, hey, we got the system for that now. You can go look that up. Yeah, but you could just tell me faster. And the instinct is just like, you're right. I could just tell you, don't do it.
yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, look, the essence of franchising is all about systems, and you're right. And if you keep rescuing people, which is
Yeah,
how I would describe what you
that's
just said,
exactly. Yeah.
if you keep rescuing them, all of a sudden, that's just the way they're going to do it. They're going to go, oh, let me go to Mike. It'll be fat, and they won't. And then one day, Mike is not there, and they don't know what to do, and Mike knows they won't know what to do, so Mike is always there. which is the problem, which is
which is the exact problem we're trying to solve
the
for.
problem. So tell me a little bit about the book. Tell me about Grow Smarter. Tell me about it. Well, Grow
It,
Smart, I believe, right? It's
yeah,
Grow
grow
Smart.
smart. Yeah, originally it was grow fast, and I'm like, that's not a great name. We need to put a piece of duct tape over fast and call it grow smart because what is it? Slow is smooth and smooth is fast. If you get all the foundation built really well,
Hmm.
you can definitely build a lot faster after that. Um, and it's a book about my journey through this, the mistakes I made, the money I've spent, the all of all of the late nights and lost hours that I don't want other people to go through. And it's chapter by chapter, kind of the process of getting from I am the operator, the system that doesn't run without me, to being a true owner, all the way through how to exit it, your franchise.
Yeah, that's a great topic because again, I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing, like where we are, because I know my daughter who's 35, she thinks differently. But, I grew up in that era where you go to school, you go to college, maybe not, whatever, you get a job,
Yeah.
get married, buy a house, pay off your mortgage, and die.
Yeah.
Okay.
Same era.
Okay. That is not abundance. That is not the law. I'm a practitioner of the law of attraction at this point in my life
Yes.
because I truly believe in it. And I tell people all the time, I have people, and I'm sure you get this all the time. Well, I'll believe it when I see it. And I tell them, no, 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 no. Switch that. You'll
Yeah.
see it when you believe it. Because if you don't believe it, you're never going to see it. And it took me years to get to that because I fought it. I just
Yeah.
like, oh, I can't be. It's BS. It's like in the movies kind of thing. So the book delves into that. Now, the book's available on Amazon if somebody wanted to get it.
Uh, Funny you should ask. In the next week or so, probably by the time this podcast is out, it'll be available on Amazon. I just printed out about a couple hundred hard copies and handing them out to people because, like a lot of people, I had some limiting beliefs that I was helping people, and enough people were like, "We want to read this book online. Get us the
Yeah.
freaking book." I'm like, all right, I understand. I'll do it. I'll do
Yeah.
it."
Well, that's great. Yeah, that's terrific because again, I think that the biggest stumbling block, and I'd love your last thoughts on this, but I think really the biggest stumbling block for most people's success is all in their head. So
I
I'd
I,
love to
I
know what
could
you
not
think
agree.
about that because I know it was all in my head.
I could not agree more. And it never, here's the thing that I keep wrestling with, Gary. It never goes away. There's always another level. You solve for one issue that you're in the way from or you have a problem with. Like for me, I could never make more than $50,000 a year. Didn't matter how big, how many multi-million dollar businesses I ran. That's all the money I could make. And that was me subconsciously screwing things up. And when
Hmm.
I fix that, I 10x my income in 6 months.
Yeah.
Boom. And then there's the next level. And then there's the next level. And then
Yeah.
it's always us. If you're in
Uh,
doubt what the problem is, it's you.
yeah. Well said. Well said. Yeah. And again, I mean, I still, at the tender age of 68, 40 years in a career. I still deal with it. I think everyone does. I think the difference is how I deal with it. There was a time when I wouldn't recognize it. Then there was a time where I recognized it, but I wouldn't
Yeah.
admit it.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there was a time where I recognized it, admitted it, but didn't believe I could do anything about it. Then, when I thought I could do something about it, I thought I didn't know what to do about it. And I always had like another thing. And I'll before I ask you how people can get in touch with you, very quick story. Many years ago, not that many years ago, probably about 10, 12 years ago, I had a radio show here in New York about small business and franchising. And I had a guy on who I haven't seen in a few years, but you ever meet someone where you feel like you've known them forever, even though you just met
Yes.
them? So his name
Yes.
is Jermaine Miller, and he's written a couple of great books. And I remember I asked him, because he had this story, lived in his car. Mom was, I think, addicted, father to child when he was young, whatever. I don't want to tell his whole story. He tells his story publicly, so it's not like I'm speaking out of school. But I said to him, I said, so when did this change for you? And he gave me an answer that to this day, it's probably 12, 15 years later, sticks with me. He said, you know what, Gary? I woke up one morning and I decided I was going to tear up my excuse list. And I threw
Oh
my
yeah.
excuse list out. And I said, well, tell me about that. And he said, there's nothing to tell. I, I had all these excuses and I just wasn't going to buy into them anymore because they weren't doing me any good because I was living in my car.
That's brilliant. That whole cycle you just described, the great thing is after you get through it the first time, the second time it goes faster, and the third time it goes faster, and the fourth time it goes faster. And you reduce the loop and you just start growing at an exponential rate. It's those first couple iterations that are the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Get
like
through those and life's like there's no pie. I need my piece of the pie. There's unlimited pie. There's money created every
exa-
moment of every day.
I tell people all the time, life is not pie. You
Right.
know, it's not pie. It's not like no, it just keeps going. Don't worry about it.
It's unlimited. Yeah, it's absolutely correct. And you and I, the excuse list, we're not getting shot at. Like, oh, I worked really hard today. Okay, well, you get shot at? No. All right. Well, then you're probably all right. You
Eh,
sat at a computer and you talked on a on a
no,
on a podcast and you typed some stuff. Like how you're not getting, you know what I
well,
mean?
all right. I feel like you have my house bugged. Very quick story, and then I swear I do have to
Sorry.
wrap it up. But I guess my daughter was about 11 or 12. We had just moved from New York to New Jersey. Maybe she was, yeah, well, they start getting snarky at about like 12, okay,
Yeah.
12, 13. And I'm in, my business is part franchising, part restaurant, part coaching. So I'm not digging ditches in the sun, okay?
Yeah.
And I remember I came home from work and I took my backpack and I kind of dumped it on the kitchen table and I said to my daughter, baby doll, I am exhausted. And she looked up at me and she said, Dad, what are you exhausted from? You eat and talk to people all day. What are you exhausted from? And I thought, first of all, I wanted to right?
Yes.
But when I took a step back, I said, you know what? She's 100% right. What am I exhausted from? I'm blessed.
Yeah.
I'm blessed
Truly.
that I figured out, or life put me in a position to figure out that we don't have to work hard. We have to work smart, but we don't have to work hard by ourselves to achieve what we want to achieve. We have to understand what we want to achieve, create a plan, and then accept the fact that we can't do it on our own.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
So I could talk with you about this all day, but we can't do that. Otherwise, it wouldn't be Mastermind Minutes. It's already not one question, so I can't really bastardize this thing. So if somebody wanted to learn more about what you do or work with you, what's the best way for someone to reach you?
Yeah. Email me at mike@mikedejong.com or visit me at mikedejong.com or look for the book on Amazon, Grow Smart.
Okay, great. And as always, we will put that into the bio of the podcast, which is on Spotify, Google, Apple, YouTube, LinkedIn, and all that other good stuff.
All the
So
good spots.
I got to thank you. I can't thank you enough for being here. Like I said, I could speak to you all day about this stuff, but we have to have you back on after the book's been out a while, and we'll see how it's doing, you're doing, and continue the conversation. But thank you so much for being here.
Been a real privilege, Gary. Thanks for having me.